Hello. Okay, Joaquin Phonie, Deux, written and directed by Todd Phillips, in which he also co-wrote with a Scott Silver. This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year because I absolutely adored that original movie back in 2019. A movie that was originally conceived to be a standalone story, a standalone film. So I am in one way surprised that we're getting a sequel, but I'm also not, because that original movie, Joker, made $1 billion. So, you know, it was a no-brainer from the studio's sort of perspective. But I was a little surprised that Todd Phillips wanted to return to what he said himself in interviews, that he always planned for that original movie, that original story to be a standalone film. But without me getting too ahead into my review, I do think the fact that that original movie making $1 billion with what certain fans' expectations were of that original movie as well, do play a massive part in the final sort of experience, that final product that we do get with Joaquin Phonie, Deux. Hopefully that will make more sense when I get into the meat of my review. So, the synopsis of Joaquin Phonie, Deux is we find Arthur Fleck in custody at Arkham State Hospital awaiting trials for his crimes as Joker. While struggling with his dual identity, Arthur not only stumbles upon true love, but also finds the music that's always been inside him. So I want to start off with saying, visually, this movie for me was gorgeous. I absolutely adored the way in which this movie looked through the cinematography and how the camera was used. I just love how they used the camera in this movie. There's a lot of these kind of following the characters through this world, and it's all done in a way through the visuals, through how the camera is used. It just did a really good job at immersing me into what is a very drab, dark, gritty, depressing world. But then you've also got these very kind of bright pastel colours that come to life as you sort of entered the mind of Arthur Fleck. And I just felt like the way that kind of shift in tone, the different kind of perspectives of sort of witnessing this kind of very real, dark, gritty world to sort of the imagination then of Arthur Fleck was beautifully done. You know, I just felt like the contrast between the very kind of dark, gritty, real world that Arthur Fleck is within to his imagination, I felt was beautifully done in how it was sort of incorporated into the story and how it came to life through the colour palette. And it sort of really kind of added that kind of emotional sort of current to this character's journey. Even though I don't think it's as sort of emotionally powerful as the first movie, due to how sort of this film, how the story is structured and how this character's journey sort of plays out. I don't think sort of that kind of emotional momentum is really there like it was in the original. It is achieved by sort of how we are witnessing this character, this very fractured character, sort of retreat into his mind, and then how that comes to life into these musical numbers. I just thought that entire contrast between the dark, gritty world and Arthur Fleck's imagination was beautifully done. So that leads me into sort of the musical element now of this movie that I actually really, really liked. And I was always intrigued by this aspect when Todd Phillips first announced it a couple of years ago. He always said that this was going to be somewhat of a musical. And yes, it wasn't really prominent in the trailers and the advertising of this movie, and rightly so, because for me personally, and this is just my personal opinion here, I still don't think this film is really a full-on musical. It's more of a story or film that has moments of musical numbers. The story is not driven by the musical element of the film, but it's there to represent or bring to life the psychological aspect of these characters. And for me personally, I didn't feel like I was watching a full-on musical where I've got a story that's been driven purely by music. It didn't feel like that for me. It is a movie that has moments of musical numbers dotted throughout it to sort of highlight a certain aspect of what a character or characters are going through. And it's those musical elements that kind of really sort of help bring to life the psychological aspect of this movie, of what this character is going through. And that is why I was always intrigued and really interested to see how Todd Phillips would bring that to life, because of the power of music and what music can do to people. And sort of, I felt like there was something really interesting and deep to explore there when it came to the use of music, because it does play a big part in sort of people's emotions and how they feel in mentally. And that's why I was always 100% on board with this idea of incorporating that into this story. And I felt like it works beautifully, because it really brings to life what this character, this very tragic character, is going through. And I just think, I felt personally it was beautifully done. There's also this rawness to the musical numbers within the movie due to how they are performed, and again, that kind of aspect really sort of heightens and plays in to what the characters are going through internally and emotionally. And that is another reason to why the musical aspect of the musical moments within this movie really worked for me, because they were achieving what I felt like Todd Phillips was trying to achieve with this story and these characters' journeys. And it all adds this emotional depth to this character's journey, to the story, to a very tragic character that I couldn't help get, I can't help but emotionally really care for this character because of what the character is going through. They are very sort of human, real experiences, and very sort of traumatic experiences that this character has gone through, and it's being told through the eyes of a character that we all know as being the Joker from the comics, a monster. But the monster, the evil it's all stripped down into what is a very kind of very real human form that's gone through very kind of real human experiences. And as a result, like the first movie, it becomes quite a conflicting experience, because you find yourself caring for a character that you would eventually, or you already know, will be, is a monster, is a very evil character. And this is what I feel like Todd Phillips does a really good job at with these movies, is really kind of playing with our expectations and sort of toying with our desires. Because at the end of the day, look, I'm a fan of DC Comics. I'm a massive Batman fan, and of all the characters within the world of Gotham City. And I think we've all got that desire when watching this movie that we're going to see this very broken, sort of fractured character of Arthur Fleck turn into the monster that we all know and love from the comic books and from what we've seen in previous movies. But then what does that actually say about us, the viewer? That we've got that desire to see this character that's gone through sort of the turmoil and sort of the trauma that he has gone through, to then sort of, have that desire of seeing that very broken, fractured character turn into this monster. In many ways, it's the film holding up the mirror to us, the viewer. And I felt like that was reflected through how this character's journey plays out, especially during the courtroom portion of the movie. And it all just adds to that kind of very emotional, tragic aspect of this story. But then you end up questioning your sort of, well, I did anyway. I just found myself questioning what it was that I was expecting and sort of my sort of desires as a fan of DC Comics and this particular character. And it's not until I reflected on this experience, like my thoughts and feelings about this movie has shifted quite drastically since watching it. And it's one of those experiences that I've got this massive urge, this desire to go out and watch again. I do think it's a very layered experience. And my initial reaction once the movie concluded was, I felt like, did we actually need this? But then as I sort of reflected more on what it was that I'd experienced with these characters, yes, I actually think we did. Because the film was doing something that a film should do, that cinema should do. And for one, it stayed with me. And two, it kind of really questioned, well, what was it that I was desiring? You know, what is it that I really wanted from this experience? And then I found myself challenging, you know, being very conflicted about what it was that I'd experienced. I was like, actually, this film did actually achieve a hell of a lot more than what I initially thought. And again, it's because it is kind of playing with those desires. And, you know, there's a certain moment within the movie with Arthur Fleck, and he's addressing the jury. And I feel like it's those themes and what it is that Todd Phillips is trying to do with his story sort of really comes to life within that moment. And, you know, look, we've ended up getting a sequel. We've got it. I do feel like what Todd Phillips has done is giving us a sequel where even he probably feels like that we don't really need it, but has used the fact that that first movie made $1 billion. As so many people went out to see this R-rated movie of a very sort of broken and fractured character going through the pain that he's going through, for then to, you know, for us to have that desire to see him turn into the clown prince of crime. He's kind of really just used that as a catalyst almost to sort of create a continuation of that story to play with us, the viewer. And I've just found myself, based on that perspective, my perspective of that, I've just found myself appreciating this movie a hell of a lot more. And like I said, my kind of feelings and thoughts on it have shifted quite a bit. You know, the film, Todd Phillips, he's constantly teasing you throughout this. Whether you got a character like Harvey Dent in it, you've got Harleen played beautifully, by the way, by Lady Gaga. I loved how she brought this character to life. A very layered character, and it's all sort of aided by how she holds this character and brings her to life. But there'll be a moment where she'll dress up in something that resembles and takes us back to the character of the Harleen Quinn that we know from the comics. But that's Todd Phillips teasing you. He is teasing you at every moment that he can, and then turns everything on its head. And the way he does it is great, because again, it really plays into the psychological element of the story. And Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck is superb. I adored what he's doing with this character and how this character switches through this dual personality, and just how he brings the character to life. I just find him incredibly compelling. I just feel like he did a really beautiful job at bringing this character to life. There is this one moment during the courtroom scene, and I'm going to be as vague as I can because I want this to be spoiler free, and it involves a returning character from the previous movie. And it's a moment that, through the writing, through the performances, I mean, it's an absolute, it's a beautiful performance within this moment from the two characters that we are seeing on the screen. But it also hits hard emotionally, because again, it's one of those moments where what the story's exploring through that kind of very tragic nature of these characters and the world that they're within really comes to life in that moment. But then that kind of just sort of plays into one of a kind of minor gripe that I had with the movie, and that is sort of going back to how I felt this story, this experience was structured. It's not quite as cohesive as it could have been. There is a messiness to it, and perhaps kind of lacks the focus on the themes in which they are exploring. I felt like it maybe could have been a little bit more intense, because you get some really great moments within this movie with certain characters and their interactions and sort of certain scenes, and there are moments where I can say, yeah, this is absolutely fucking great, I love it. But it's not quite connected together in a way where it felt cohesive, and as a result, as I've said a number of times already, it kind of lacks that really kind of momentum that I felt like the story needed to sort of build up that emotional momentum and energy that the original had. And so when you get to that conclusion, even though it's tragic and alarming and surprising and many things, because it's saying so much within the movie's conclusion to what happens with these characters, up until that point it did feel a little bit chaotic and messy in sort of getting there, and then maybe sort of the themes in which they are exploring, which do come to life in moments, I just feel like that was kind of lost sight of at times. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on now. This review has probably gone on for a lot longer than I intended to, but it's definitely an experience while watching it and afterwards, upon reflecting on it. It's been quite challenging and conflicting, but I found myself finding this kind of real appreciation and fondness for what I feel Todd Phillips was hoping to achieve with this movie. It's not perfect, and I still, at this point in time, did I love it? No, but did I hate it? I didn't. I like this movie a lot. It's got some great moments within it. I just feel like that perhaps the narrative and how the story was told wasn't quite as cohesive or as focused as it could have been. But I definitely think that this could very well be an experience that, while upon watching it again, my thoughts, my feelings on this film could become stronger. Or I might actually end up disliking it more. I really don't know. But at this point in time, upon reflecting and sort of really kind of digging into what this film I felt was, I just found myself really appreciating it. And I do recommend, if you've seen it already and you hated it, go out and give it another go. At the same time, this movie is definitely not for everyone. But yeah, look, I'm going to shut up now. This movie has changed quite a bit on where I was going to grade it. And I could see this film again in a couple of weeks. That grade could change in a couple of weeks or months' time. I don't know. But right now, I'm going to be giving Joker Folie Deux a 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, they are my thoughts on Joker Folie Deux. But what did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? And please let me know in the comments below and let's get a discussion going. I feel like it's definitely one of those movies where a lot of people have got a lot of things to say about it. And again, this is part of the fun. This is the part of doing all of this, and that is sort of sharing and expressing and sort of debating these opinions and thoughts and all of that. So yeah, please let me know. And if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch future movie reviews from just some random Welsh geek rambling on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next movie review will be for Transformers 1, which releases next weekend. And a big thank you to all those that have connected, interacted and subscribed to the channel over the last couple of weeks, months, years. It means an awful lot. I've just hit 400 subscribers and that means the absolute world to me. I'm hoping to hit 500 by the end of the year, but I'm overwhelmed by the amount that I've got now that kind of, want to follow just some random Welsh geek ramble on about film and TV. It means an awful lot, and I do enjoy doing this, sitting here and sharing my thoughts on cinema with like-minded people. It means an awful lot. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys soon.